After-school programs across Illinois are urging state officials to release $50 million included in the budget to replace lost federal funding due to an error at the Illinois State Board of Education. The board says it needs more guidance from the General Assembly before releasing the funds, but Chicago State Representative Will Guzzardi stressed the urgency. He pointed out that lawmakers have already given the authority to distribute the money. Advocates warn that more than 27,000 students have lost access to programs and more than 2,000 staff have lost their jobs. Lawmakers are pushing for swift action to prevent further disruptions.
I would say we're frustrated as well, and we feel as though we gave the agency the appropriations authority that it needs to disperse these funds and make sure these programs can continue to operate. But certainly if ISB needs further guidance from the General Assembly, we're happy to provide it.